How do you bring passion back into your marriage and get your husband or partner initiating sex again? What do you do with a guy who's frankly just being a general douche? And how do you handle questions about your body image, find confidence in your body? That's what we're talking about today. It's Ask Mark time again. It's part of the week where you write into me and I get to answer the best questions every single week. Now, this week I've got some important stuff to discuss with you at the end, so make sure you stick around. But let's get straight into the first question. Don't forget to subscribe. First question comes from Zanil. Zanil says, I just started dating a guy 2 weeks ago and now he wants me to move in with him. Please advise me. I want to know if he loves me for real. Zanil, run. In all seriousness, we had the video out on Romeo's the other week. Zanil, I want you to watch it. This is probably a comment in that video, but if you haven't, I want you to watch it. And I mean, you could say to the guy, hey, look, I think this is, you know what, just run. Number two, second question, and we had a couple of you ask this question this week, so I thought it was a good one to expand on and make our main kind of question for the week. Tamara says, any advice for ladies with husbands who never initiate? Any tips on how to not get rejected by a husband who seems to have lost interest? And Miss M says, along similar lines, love these videos, Mark, on the touching video. Just curious, what about your thoughts on a guy I am married to who seems to no longer want to have sex? Can you do a video on how to bring passion back to a fading relationship? So, similar sorts of lines this week, and I want to really help you. Now, obviously, this is a big question. This is something couples go to therapists for. This is something a lot of books have been written on. So I just want to give you, Miss M, Tamara, you out there, a few of the really important concepts with this. As relationships go on, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, passion does fade. And that's something we need to work to get back. And it's not something that comes automatically, sadly. Closeness often stays, but it's amazing how often closeness just leads to being friends, and friends does not necessarily lead to excitement and passion. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you sit down with him and make some time for you both as a couple. So have a chat about this and have a chat about making some time as a couple. It's often you get stuck in a routine. You get stuck in a routine with kids, with monotony, day-to-day life. This ongoing same thing leads to boredom, and boredom is the enemy of passion. It is comfort, it is not passion. So you want to bring back excitement and you want to bring back that couple's connection. So one thing that I recommend couples do is that they sit down with each other and they sort of say, look, let's make time for us. We both want more passion in this and we both want to feel this more strongly. So let's set aside a couple of nights if you can, time to reconnect as a couple. Get rid of the kids. Grandparents, babysitter, whatever you got to do, find a way to reconnect as a couple, because that's the easiest thing to lose when all of life and everything else gets in the way. Passion comes from excitement, but you've also got to find that time to connect as a couple to build that excitement. So the first thing is to sit down with him and to say, okay, we're going to make some time and put some effort into this. Now, what I recommend is that you guys take turns. And since you're the one initiating it, why don't you go first and be the change you want to see in the relationship? So you can say, okay, this Thursday night, keep it free. We're having couple time, I'm organizing it, you just leave it up to me. And he says, okay, don't know what this is about, but sure, you know what? I want to work on our relationship, let's do this. And so maybe you start doing cheeky little notes around the house about what he can expect. And you plan, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but you guys go to the park, or you guys go for a walk along the water, or you sit down and you have a awesome conversation about things that you don't yet know about each other. Because it's easy to think that you know everything, but the reality is you don't. Some questions to take on this date is ask yourself, what don't I know about this guy? And what can I learn about him? Where does he want to be with his own passions? Where does he see himself in 5, 10 years? Ask him these questions. Ask him about a fantasy that he's never told you about, that he's always thought about doing. See what it is. See if you can figure out things about him that you don't know yet and really explore his character. There's always more to discover, and make that a focus of your first experience. Doesn't even have to be about sex. First couple, it'll be his turn the week after. He puts in the effort. You just get to know each other as a couple. And you know, you can look at doing these fantasies you talk about. Here's another cool thing to do, which I can't believe this has never come up on this channel before, by the way. I cannot believe this. Eye dates. Eye dates where you literally, you say, we're going to spend 5, 10, 15, we're going to spend X amount of time, and we're just going to stare into each other's eyes. Incredibly powerful, builds passion. It starts off as a couple connection exercise, and you guys end up going at it all night afterwards. Eye dates, incredible for building passion. Get to know him as a new man again. Find out things you don't know, his fantasies, his wants, where he wants to be. Once you've set that time aside to get to know him again as a man, that time for you guys as a couple, you're going to find out all sorts of new things, new excitement, and eye dates add to it. There's lots of things you can do. But start out by just setting aside the time, even if it's not for sex. Make time as a couple, create excitement around it, build it up during the day, build his one up, and go from there. Because once you get that time back as a couple, that's when you can start to use it to create excitement and passion in your relationship. I hope that helps. Get the passion back. There's a great book. I actually can't recall the name of it right now, but I'll put a link in the description below. Third question is from Pink Bioni, who says, how can we compete with what the media shows what shows men what is acceptable? What the media shows men, I think, is the general gist here. I'm self-conscious because I used to have a good body when I was younger, but that makes guys just want to go to bed, period. So it's a catch-22. What do you say to that? Very confusing for us girls. Well, I found this comment a little confusing, but I think what you're asking, Pink Peony, is, excuse me, how do I find confidence in my body again? And you know what? It's great timing that you asked this, because I actually filmed a video on this on another channel. Glenn McIntosh is the weight management psychologist for Australia. He's been featured on The Biggest Loser, and I recently appeared on his channel to do a video on body image. We've actually got another video coming out with him on this channel. That will be out in about 6 weeks from now. But for right now, rather than giving you an answer here in a couple of minutes, you can check out, we've got about 12 minutes of answers with Glenn on body image, Australia's #1 weight psych. And it's over on his channel. Again, I will link you in the description. So go check that out. If anything body image related, he's your man. Link description. Last question is from Dio Nice, and Dio Nice says, I need some advice. I was dating this guy. Always had so much fun with him. And within the last couple of weeks, we decided to go to that other level, if you know what I mean, lol. However, every time he wants to, something happens. If that isn't bad, every time he doesn't get his way, he resorts to employing the silent treatment. I spoke to him about it once, but he did it a second time because I was doing something with my friends and couldn't make our planned rendezvous at that specific time. And I went off on him. I was really upset because I offered to meet him at another time. He's making all sorts of demands which I refuse to adhere to, so we've constantly been clashing. I gave him some days to cool off and messaged him back, to which he hasn't answered. Truthfully, I don't wish to take things between us any further because he's very controlling and demanding, which is not something I welcome at all. But I really did want a platform to speak with him. Do I just leave it alone since he hasn't answered and is again using his silent treatment weapon? I do miss hanging out with him, but it's hard to feel the way I used to when he has shown me this low vibrational, insecure side of himself. Dio, I completely agree. Remember, always, always put your self-respect and your standards above your feelings for someone. If that always comes first, you'll never get into trouble in abusive, in relationships that don't meet your needs. If you're putting your self-respect and your standards above your feelings, then you'll never end up in that situation. So Dio, you're at a crossroads right now. You've got a guy who's clearly, you've only been dating him, you don't say exactly 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. A couple of weeks ago, you decided to go to that other level. That doesn't mean anything. Just because you've started sleeping with him does not mean your standards drop. It doesn't mean you're now accepting less treatment than you were before you slept with him. Sex changes nothing. You still put your standards in place, and the way this guy's been acting, silent treatment, controlling, it's all sounding bad, Dio. So you're at a crossroads right now. You're at the point where it's I put my standards in place and I don't accept this type of behavior, and I find a man who does, or I accept it and I end up in one of those relationships with a controlling, silent treatment, non-communicative man. and I find myself regretting that 6, 12, 24 months down the line. So Dia, yep, it was obviously good for a bit. It's not now. He's no longer meeting your standards. He's no longer cutting the mustard. Gotta go. That's the questions for today. I have a question for you before we finish. I want to do live. I want to do more live stuff, but I want to know how you would love it to be formatted. So I'm brainstorming this. I've got a few different ways to do it. The first way would be for me to simply come online and answer typed questions. The problem with this, and the only downside, is that there's not a lot of detail and it's often a lot of people posting at the same time, so it can get a little bit confusing. So the other thing that I was thinking is potentially either doing an interview style where I bring other experts on, or where I bring one of you on each week and just focus on you or her. So in other words, we choose one person, we maybe bring them live on webcam, they can talk to me live, and you almost get to watch as I work through that person with their dating dilemma. So let me know. The only downside of that one is if someone doesn't show up or bails, then you don't get a live stream that week. So let me know your thoughts on how you'd like me to go live. I want to do more YouTube live with you guys. I want to connect more. I'm thinking of doing a weekly thing. You might know on the Facebook page, we already do them weekly. But I'd love to do a weekly live with you here on YouTube. And I want to know how you would want it to be formatted so you can get the most out of it. So let me know, ask your questions, comments, answer what you want below, and also ask your next Ask Mark questions. Keep the questions coming, it's the only way I keep the content going. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, do it, you know you want to, just subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notifications, it's the best dating channel ever. And make sure you leave your comments below, I want to hear them. Thank you, and I shall chat to you in the next video really soon.